In the spirit of Thanksgiving, my family went to the home of Aurelius Piper of the Paugussett Indian tribe to break bread. Chief Big Eagle and his wife, Four Falling Arrows, set the table and welcomed visitors in typical Indian style. Other guests were there that night as well. Four Hearts Whispering, an old Indian friend, and the chief's daughters, Sharan or White Fawn, and Rhonda Lynn. The Pipers live in this log cabin on the Golden Hill Reservation in Trumbull, Connecticut. The Paugussets were the first Indians in the entire country to be placed on a reservation way back in 1659. But it's not expansive like most. This 1/4 acre reservation is the oldest and one of the smallest reservations in the nation. In recent years, Chief Big Eagle has often found himself fighting for his rights. He fought to keep the reservation and has found himself in numerous legal battles over Indian rights. Most recently, the chief has written his congressman and President Reagan about a new act that's about to come before Congress. It's the Ancient Indian Land Claims Settlement Act. The bill seeks to let the federal government determine Indian land claims and prevent Indians from settling claims in court.
They want to pass the Ancient Indian Land Claims Act to do away with the land claims in Connecticut, New York, and South Carolina. But how can you do away with people's rights when you don't recognize them in the first place? You see, we're not federally recognized.
Before we really got to talking, the chief suggested that we all enjoy dinner. That included cameraman Lenny Davis. The rabbit stew, fried bread, and dessert were delicious, but it was the hospitality that we could appreciate the most. After the meal, I sat with Chief Big Eagle and asked him about the history of the Paugussets. And he told me at the beginning, Indian-Pilgrim relations were good, but short-lived.
20 years, they got along peacefully, and then as they wanted more territory, they confined them to a reservation on what is now known as Golden Hill Street in Bridgeport, Connecticut, which was 80 acres. And according to the treaty and agreement, that was the Indians as long as they did not abandon it. But to get the Indians abandoned it, the settlers burnt them out and run them off their land.
The chief and his family are still involved with creating Indian art, and very often they welcome visitors. But the scars of what the white man has done to his ancestors are still fresh. And he says the biggest problem today is that our children aren't given all the facts.
And it has to start from the school. You have to educate children about the history of their own place, and I don't think any school in the state gives a complete history of the people that are here.
Chief says people should also know that he had to fight to secure even his 1/4 acre.
Wanted to get a decent place for them to live in.
Them being?
My uncle and my aunt. And in the meantime, both of them passed away, and that left me with it. And of course, the neighbor next door, who was a lawyer, wanted it, and
you were going to fight for it.
That's right, for the original boundaries of the reservation.
And you had to fight for it.
And I had to fight with it, right down to bring it into the American Indian movement to back me up. What is a 1/4 acre? But this 1/4 acre looks like the Sioux's 40,000 square mile reservation to me, and I'll fight for it just as fast as they will for the 40,000 acre.
I asked him if fighting for his rights was just part of his personality.
I spent 22 months in the Burma jungle on North African invasion for you people, so why shouldn't I fight for something of my own? I was fighting for something then I didn't know a damn thing about. So why shouldn't I fight for something of my own? And if I'm a fighter, you learned me to be a fighter, and I thank you for it, because I'm going to give you all the hell you can stand.
How about Thanksgiving? Well, the chief says it doesn't sit well with him.
That a public day of Thanksgiving was set aside in the state of Connecticut, thanking the soldiers for subduing the heathen Pequots. So if you think anybody's going to sit down and eat dinner with you after you have killed their people, you got another sorry mistake coming, because your first turkey in the state of Connecticut was an Indian.
And Chief Big Eagle says besides being educated about what Indians were really like, people need to know that the face of the Indian has changed a great deal.
All you see about the Indian around here is the stereotype you see on TV, unless you see him at a powwow or something. But understand this, Indians come in all colors and hues because they are intermarried in all races.
In visiting with Chief Big Eagle, you may be offended by some of the things he has to say. At the very least, you may not agree with him. but you almost have to respect the man for his beliefs and the battles he's had to fight. In 1979, he wrote a letter to his supporters that reads, "During these 6 years, my body has weakened, and age has overtaken me. My strength is fading. My wish is to live out my remaining days in peace and dignity." In Trumbull, I'm Frank Boris, News 12.